Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video today I'm going to be installing a diesel tachometer, rev counter, whatever you'd like to call it, onto my old van, and I'm going to be running through the process of doing that. Some people might say, what do you want a rev counter for? You know, it's not exactly a sports car, but there's three reasons why I'd like to put a rev counter in this van. And the first one is to keep an eye on what the engine's doing. I know it's loud enough that you can pretty much hear it, but it would be nice to have a visual representation of what's going on. The second reason is that a video which I'm planning to make in the future requires me to have one. And the third reason is I think it looks pretty cool. So that's the main reason why I'm doing it, is the rev counter. So it should be a pretty straightforward process, and I'll just run through exactly what I'm doing. It's only 4 wires. Diesel rev counter. It's specifically a diesel one because it goes up to 6,000 RPM, and that's what the standard transit one goes up to. That's why I got this one. Here I had to order a separate holder for it, 52mm holder. Comes with some instructions, some kind of air freshener, I think. It's got a sticky pad there for sticking this down, and it comes with a couple of little screws as well. So you've got 4 wires on this particular rev counter. The red is the ignition live 12 volt, green is from the alternator, this is a signal wire, black is ground, negative, and the yellow is for the backlight, so that's got to be connected to 12 volts from the light switch. Here we have my alternator. It's got 3 wires coming off of it. This thicker red one is for charging the battery. That's got a regulated DC voltage off of it, and then you've got 2 wires down here. One of these will be the W terminal, and one of them is like the warning light on the dashboard. So if your alternator is not putting out the right voltage, then it'll bring up a light on the dashboard. I've had a look in the Haynes manual and I found a wiring diagram for this. So I know that the grey and black one should be the W terminal. That goes into a connector block right here. So I can find that and see if the wire goes into the cab from here, but most likely it'll just terminate in one side of this, and because my van doesn't have a rev counter, it won't come out the back of it. If your alternator doesn't have a W terminal, then you can always strip it apart and add one in. It's just tapping onto one of the field windings. So I've just soldered that straight onto the W terminal from the alternator. I've just got a bit of heat shrink, just going to cover that up. So I'm going to neatly run this wire back round. Because these are such small wires off of the rev counter, what I've done, I've taken these crimps apart and I'm going to solder them on, because I want to have the tachometer so I can just unplug it if necessary. I'm just crushing them down a bit with my pliers, getting my soldering iron, putting it in there, and then soldering the wire directly to the metal crimp. See, that's soldered on there. It's a good strong connection. And then I'm pushing this insulation back up over the crimp, crimping it down. And that's good. Alrighty, so the next step is to find the ignition live. So I'm going to get the ignition live off of my stereo wiring harness. That's the negative. And that one there is the permanent live. As you can see, I've got 12.6 volts there. And this one here, if I plug it in there, when I turn the ignition on, you can see we have 12 volts when I turn the ignition on. Okay, so I've got a negative terminal down here now. I'm going to pop this switch out because I've got an ignition live on the back of this. This is my negative up to the tacho. And up to... It's best practice to put a fuse from the ignition live up to the tacho, so I'm just putting in a fuse holder here. I looked for the current specifications of the tacho and it didn't have any, but I can't imagine it draws more than 0.5 amp, so I've just put a 1 amp fuse in here, and that's purely to protect the thinnest cable between the stereo and the tacho, which is up at the tacho. So in the case of a short, it'll pop this fuse in here rather than the stereo fuse, or potentially burning the wires up at the tacho. So this is my negative, and this here is up to the tachometer, and then the fuse can just live behind the dashboard there. Now I can run these wires up to where the tachometer is going to go. So the final wire I need to find is from the light switch here. Alternatively, I could run a wire from one of the side lights. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I've decided I'm going to tap into the lighting circuit by the bulb. For running the wire to the backlight on the tachometer, I'm tapping into my lighting circuit. So I've put a fuse here and I'm just going to run it off one of the side lights. That way, if the tacho develops a fault or there's a short between this fuse and the tacho, it'll only pop this fuse. It won't take out my lighting circuit or cause a fire in the dashboard. The chances of that happening are very slim, but you should always fuse your live wires to your accessories. You can see I've spliced into one of my side lights, fused from here, and that goes to the back light of the tacho. Okay, it's all insulated. Just got to plug my side light back in, and now we can go and test it. I've plugged it all in. Now I've just got to make it look neat, hide all the wires. That's better, nice and secure. Okay, so we turn the ignition on. The rev counter does a sweep, which is nice. You don't get that on a standard one. Start it up. And there we go. Now my light's on. It comes up nice and bright. These are on, but the bulbs in the back aren't very bright. Now to calibrate this properly, you'll need a handheld tachometer to get the engine's RPM for idling, and then you can adjust it accordingly using a little potentiometer on the back. So here's the little potentiometer on the back for adjusting it. I'm just going to adjust that so it sits in between the two notches there. If I can get my hands on a handheld tachometer, I'll obviously set it up exactly to where it should be. So you can get clocks which fit in here, which have a rev counter here for my van, but to save the hassle of changing all the numbers over and stripping all the dash out, I've just got that add-on one there. But the only thing is, it's got these little voltage spikes every now and then. You see that? I'm not too sure what's going on there. Having a little read up about it, I think you can put a 47 kilo ohm resistor in line with the signal wire, and it acts as like a filter to stop those voltage spikes. So to filter out those voltage spikes, I'm going to fit this resistor in series with the signal wire from the alternator. I've tried it and it works. So I've just put a 4.7 kilo ohm resistor in series with the signal wire. And can see it's much more stable now. It's not jumping up and down anymore. So that's it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.